We cannot take. Sometimes I sit down and say, I think we made a mistake changing from Nigeria, we hail thee, to this arise, O compatriots. Because I hail Nigeria, I hail Nigerians, we're rugged, we're determined, we take, in quotes, mind my language, any shit. We take it and laugh. I'm so sorry. But no matter the pains, you find Nigerians just flowing through, and we don't even ask questions.
But would you say that Nigerians are easy to lead?
We're very good followers.
We are.
We're good followers. If you remember what happened in the 80s, early 80s, when the president, when he was the head of state, within a few months, Nigerians were queuing up. Nigerians would go out on Saturday.
Yes.
Yes, would go out on Saturdays and clean the environment. Nigerians are good followers. We only need the right leadership to show us the way.
And they are inherently good people.
Yes.
All they need you to do is lead them, and they will follow you without asking any questions.
Sorry.
If you lead them wrong, they will follow you into corruption and all that.
Oscar has a problem with that.
Yeah, I have a problem with saying you're a good follower when just because you're docile. That's not being a good follower. A good followers create good leaders. But when you're docile, you create kings as leaders. And at the end of the day, power must corrupt.
So where would you place
problem.
Nigerians?
I place us as very docile people, yes.
I don't think so.
In fact,
and when I'm talking Nigeria, I'm not talking one part of Nigeria. I'm not talking educated Nigerians. You're very few. And I'm talking the average man on the street. No. He said it now. We don't even ask questions. My brother, tell me who is representing you and how many of them you bother to go see to say, look, what are you doing about this? Have you ever, as educated, as exposed as you are?
I have.
You have. I don't even know who represents me.
I have.
I don't even know who represents me.
If I would say something, okay. If I would say something, right, and I'm trying to be a middling here. At times we look at these things, and why I say it's the leadership is, you mentioned a while ago that the same Nigerian queues in line when he goes outside Nigeria. The same Nigerian that you're on the same flight with from outside Nigeria carries his luggages, pushes his trolley, gets to Murtala Mohammed Airport, and is instantly a changed man. He wants to be waited on. He wants people to fuff around him.
And there are 5...
And aides and all.
Aides and servants.
But I've noticed something. I live in the Aja area of Lagos, and I've noticed something.
Oh, you're one of them.
Oh,
As in Aja is a hideout area, no? Okay.
I've lived in a place where the traffic situation was horrible. Then at some point, some smart last man came up with the idea of cones. You just put cones in the middle of the road. And natively, people started respecting cones. There was no policeman, but cones. So they was like, no, cone, yes sir, cone. So, and what he said to me was a metaphor of, do we have the institutions to shape us into obeying these laws?
That's the word.
When I come to a traffic light and it's not working, what do I obey? When I get to a traffic light where the policeman is telling me, don't worry, move. This one, not the walk. And it's green, and you're actually waving me to move on. It sets a conflicting message. Because yesterday, somebody passed me through a red light. Either because it was overriding the glitches in what I've seen work. But the point is, in my mindset, I've gone away with, at times you can beat red lights. At times it's okay for the policeman to tell you to beat red light. So some of these things are questions that the proper structures will actually take away the mystery in obeying them, in flowing with them.
But don't forget the structures are made up of, behind the structures are people. That's the point I'm trying to make. Behind the institutions are people. And those people, their minds must change. Our hearts must be in the right place. That's why when people say institutions is the problem we're having in Nigeria, I say no, it's the people. We must change as a people. Without that change, Nigeria will not move forward. Look at a country like Ghana. Why are we taking our kids to Ghana? Why is Ghana, that is not as wealthy as us, why do they have better structures? Why are things organized? Why do Ghanaians do things better than Nigerians? And yet, we are more gifted, we're talented, we have the wealth.
Sorry, sir, I will need to pause you there because my family live in Ghana. Now, if you take the total population of Ghana, right, discount the Nigerians in Ghana, right, I can fit in Ghana into Lagos.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
I'm good. So for all the good men you've seen in Lagos, if you see the equivalent number of good men in Nigeria, it will trump whatever Ghana has to bring.
No, but
I'm getting to the point.
Basically, what he's talking about, the institutions they have.
I'm getting to that point.
I'm
getting to that point. And the point I'm getting to is, it's easy to see disorder without observing that there is a lot of order in, say, Uyo, in, say, Nsukka, in, say, Abakaliki. When you focus in the disorder in Lagos, it magnifies. But then, when you look at places where there isn't no spotlight, they are not that as stupid as you would want to present the generalization. It doesn't really cut. The truth is, I've also seen other parts of West Africa where the people are hyped in order for us to put ourselves down. Question is, are they that much better? If the Ghanaian, that's the point I want you to understand. If the Ghanaian were to leave Ghana and come to Lagos, would he still be Ghanaian?
It probably would be worse.
It probably would be worse. Which means it wasn't him that was obeying that.
It was the institution.
It was the institution.
Okay, Mr. Omdi, how do we get our institutions? Should that be the main focus? He mentioned policy. Should that be the main focus of this administration as they step up?
Absolutely.
How should they start that?
Oh, first of all, strengthen the institutions. If you put the right men there, you set targets for them.
Mark, you said men.
Men.
Sorry,
He talked about men.
And women.
Women.
No, not the way I say men. I mean
human beings.
men, human beings.
beings.
But he talks about human beings.
I'm agreeing with him there. Look, I keep saying the mindset we have and why we don't do things is because we believe there's somebody else who's going to do it. No, we. But first of all, we must be empowered. We must know that we have a right to do this. And that's the problem we lack here.
Can you explain that empowerment?
When I say empowerment, it's simple. Do you know why the National Orientation Agency was set up in Babangida's time? There's nothing else other than to, first of all, you begin to know your rights as it concerns Nigeria, what you're supposed to do for Nigeria.
Yeah.
But that department it's more important than any other ministerial appointment.
That's it.
It is more important. If there's going to be change, just get the person who can, because unfortunately, we have a president who is not a man of many words. So you need in that place a man that can truly motivate Nigerians. Because once you change the thinking of our people, the energy is amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But if that thinking is not changed, we use it in the negative. Once I can survive, and everybody moves on.
Let me read out this tweet from Prince Miracle. Says, the attitude of Nigerians has nothing to do with the expectations. We did not elect Nigerians. The expectations are hinged on the elected officials, and attitude was never a factor during campaigns.
Oh, please.
How does that work?
I'm not discussing expectations.
No. Okay, you're not discussing
I'm not discussing expectations.
My own is, what he says is a cliche. We've gone with the elections. The point is, this is now when the push comes to a shove.
Okay.
You can't pretend that an attitude isn't going to be a dominating influence in whatever changes you want to have.
I think what he's just trying to say...
Before you come in, let me just stress the point that governance is a contract.
Social contract.
Social contract.
Correct.
Between the governed and the government.
Beautiful.
Those who are governing. But in our situation, it looks like nobody cares about the governed once the governed have done their duty of electing their governors, in quotes.
I agree in total, and I think that's
You
what
all
led,
seem to agree with
that's
that.
why I think that's what led. That's why I said Nigerians, we do not ask questions.
We don't.